What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So honestly, this video here I was really not gonna make simply because I wanted to finish the diorama that comes with it, and I wanted to present all these at one time. But I decided to go ahead and make this a four-part series of the Fantastic Four, and we're gonna start with the big guy today, none other than Ben Grimm, aka
The Thing.
So this design is done by Wicked 3D, and I will have a link below in the description. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with that notification bell. That way you don't miss out on any future videos, including the rest of this series. So without any further ado, let's get into the build. So for Thing's body, I am using these two colors right here, this ochre brown, I guess I'm pronouncing that right, and this orange rust. I'm mixing it up and getting a nice little toasty color, almost like a toasty orange out of that. So because I used a gray primer, it takes a couple of coats to cover this up adequately. You can actually use a white primer and you might get a better finish from it. Lessons learned. Same thing with the feet. Just trying to get a good couple of wet coats on here and just make sure it dries in between coats. Otherwise you'll get a bunch of runs. Okay, so I'm getting ready to seal Thing here because I'm going to need to handle the whole entire body and I don't want to mess up the paintwork. So a lot of people ask me what I seal with. This is all I use. This is a Color Max Krylon rattle can. I use a flat for most of my stuff. However, they have a satin and they have a gloss. I think this really accentuates colors, brings them out, makes them more vibrant. And we'll see how the Thing looks when I'm done, but all of my other stuff I use it on and turns out really nice. So now you know. All right, so I know we'll probably get this question asked, but I'm gonna go ahead and tell you how I seal stuff. This is the way I spray it. I don't just hose it down. I get it just enough for a good wet look. I just basically go over it pretty lightly, especially if I know that I'm probably going to seal it later again. And what I'll do is, you can see it already starting to dry a little bit. All right, so then I'll take a hair dryer. Yes, pink is my favorite color. And that helps speed along the drying process a little bit, and then I'll just poke it up and let it dry the rest on its own. So I painted the trunks blue, just a basic blue. Now I'm going to take black and I'm going to go in and do some shading. And then after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it with this blue-gray for some highlights. And this shading just gives it some good overall contrast and breaks up the monotony of just a single solid color. All right, and now I'm going to start painting the belt and the logo. We're going to start with the white in the middle. Now, of course, when you're working with white, it's going to take you a couple of coats to get an adequate coverage. And this is no exception. And I'm just using a flat black on here, nothing fancy. Just make sure you get good coverage, make sure your line work is tidy. And after all this is done, we'll gloss it up with a good clear coat. Next, I'll be finishing up the belt with a gunmetal gray. And here, all I'm doing is just making sure all the edges and everything is just nice and crisp. The next thing I'll do is take some of this orange brown and I'll do some of the shading. So here, we're just basically giving it some definition. Accentuating the muscle tone or the rock tone, however you want to put it. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this black wash over the whole entire body so that we can get into all the cracks and crevices on the body and give it a little bit more definition. But what I'm going to do is, as I apply it, I'm actually going to be taking a wet cloth and wiping off the excess. So while doing this, do a little part at a time. Put the wash on and then just rub it off. Otherwise your paint will have a tendency to dry on you and that's not going to be good, especially when you're doing this on a light color. And definitely make sure your paint is sealed before doing this, because you can rub off paint. So when you have all of the wash on all of the cracks, this is what it looks like. Don't worry, we're going to go back in and we're going to lighten this up a little bit by doing a little bit of dry brushing with a little bit of a lighter color, and this is going to look really good once we're done. So next we're going to go back and mix these colors right here and do a little dry brushing on them to bring out some of the highlights. And here what I'm doing is I'm just actually hitting on some of the high points with a lighter color. You could take the previous color that you had and just add a little bit of yellow or a little bit of white to it, lighten it up a little bit, and this gives it some really good highlights. All right, so we're almost in the home stretch here. The last couple of things I'm going to do is touch up on the eyes and the teeth, and then we're going to put a gloss coat on there to give it that wet look. And then the thing will be done. And here on the base, I am just using a silver from Tamiya. Just making sure you get a couple of good coats on here. Looking for a good coverage. And then we'll put a wash on it after a while. So here is the base for the bust. As you can see, there's a big size difference. Even though this one here is basically just a placeholder, because Wicked actually did a diorama base for the whole entire Fantastic Four, I'm still going to paint it up. Maybe I can use it for something else, or when I decide to display Thing by himself, I can use it as a standalone base. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the inside of the insignia here, where the 4 is, of blue. Now, I'm not the cleanest line worker in the world, and sometimes I have to go back and do a lot of touch-ups, and that's no exception here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to color the inside of the logo here. And then I'll go back in with the silver and tidy up some of the lines here. And then I'll tidy up on the front of this insignia here as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is put on this black wash. So the purpose here is just to give it an aged look. It was just a little too clean for me, so I just kind of wanted to dirty up a little bit, and then go back and do some dry brushing of silver over it after it's dry. And the last thing to do on the whole entire model is put a few finishing touches on this base here. This is just a placeholder base, so I didn't get too involved in it. Wicked did make a full diorama base for all of the Fantastic Four, and I will be printing that one out so we can place all of the characters on there. So after adding a few accents, I'm going to call this model good and say it is done. All right, so that is the thing, but hey, I have an added bonus. Not only did I print and paint the figure, I did the bust too. Pretty cool, huh? This is an actually really nice bust. You actually had the option to put a cigar in his mouth, and you actually had glasses, but I opted not for those. I didn't like them too much. But yeah, this is the bust, and it's actually a quarter scale. This thing is pretty big, but it's a good companion piece. And Wicked does this a lot with their sculptures. Each month they'll release a sculpture plus a bust, and the price is just $10. So you guys might want to look into that if you're into this sort of thing. And again, thanks a lot, guys. And there you have it, everyone. I hope you got something out of this and enjoy the video as well. And a special thank you to all of my patrons out there. If you'd like to learn a few tips on printing and painting, you can join the Patreon as well. We do have a private Discord where we can discuss all of those certain things, printing and painting wise. And if you'd like to do the one-time support thing, we do have the super thanks in the description below. And if you don't want to do any of that, just watch the videos. That's how you can support the channel without doing anything, and it's free. Don't forget, everything I pretty much use in the videos is also in some affiliate links below. That is another way to support the channel. So we're slowly climbing up to the 10,000 sub mark, and I promised you guys that I will have a really cool giveaway once we get to 10K. So let's help me get there, and subscribe to the channel, for crying out loud. Share the videos, write some comments below, give me some suggestions on stuff that you'd like to see. So with that being said, everyone, stay safe out there. Don't forget, get out there and create something. Print, prep, paint, repeat. And until the next video, everybody, we'll see you. Hey, for you guys that stuck around, this is coming up pretty soon. It's gonna be huge.